This is so much fun. I am here now to spend a few minutes with Amoda, who is one of the most popular of our presenters in these conferences. How many conferences have you been with us?
I think 3 up until now. This will be the 4th one.
How wonderful. So essentially half, since this is our eighth conference with the
Mhm.
Pure Presence conferences. So thank you so much. For all that you do and all the ways you show up. I am inspired to read your bio. Is that okay?
Please do.
Read it. Amoda Ma offers a profound invitation to all those who wish to embody the truth of awakened consciousness in the midst of everyday life. Her teachings are not affiliated with any lineage or tradition, and yet the luminous truth expressed through these teachings is the same non dual understanding at the core of many spiritual traditions. Arising from her own direct experience and expressed in a contemporary language, these teachings are relevant and accessible to all people from all backgrounds and cultures. She offers meetings and retreats to a growing global community and is the author of Embodied Enlightenment and Falling Open in a World Falling Apart. She lives with her husband, Kavi Jezi Hockaday, in New Mexico, and together they are the spiritual directors of the Amoda Ma Foundation. Felt good just reading. What would you like to add? What would you like people to know how you're showing up in the world right
Well, I think that pretty much encapsulated it. But that's, I mean, that's the kind of framework, if you like. Um, what's offered, really underneath that, behind that, inside that is a frequency field of the unconditionality of open awareness and open heart. Um, so, although there are teachings, nothing is set in stone. It's not a set of principles. It's very fresh. It's always unfolding. It's always evolving. It's always direct. It's always relevant to what's going on in our lives. And that includes everything from the personal to the collective and so on. So I speak with many people that come to our meetings, our retreats online, and now gradually going back into being in person as well, about real life issues. Yeah, although it's a non-dual teaching, essentially at its heart, in its essence, none of it is conceptually non-dual. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of non-dual extremism, as I like to call it, or as Kavi would like to call it. And this isn't that. This is non-duality in its heart, in its core, because that's the direct realization, but it includes the human experience. Otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, it becomes a kind of bypass, or it can do. And this isn't about that. It's about real life issues and how can we live in the world? How can we be more authentic human beings? How can we meet reality, meet life in a whole new way, not the old ego paradigm or matrix-centered paradigm? And this has an impact on our lives and on the world, even though it seems like a drop in the ocean. But I think there's great power, and that's what I mean by the amplified field, which seems to reveal itself when we come together in true inquiry that is not conceptual, that is not affiliated to any idea or, one way of seeing things or perspective, but comes from what I would call clear seeing. Yeah, clear seeing in ourselves.
So, and the cat came running at the sound of your voice. So you talked
Oh,
about an energy field, and she obviously enjoys this one. So, and this seems to be a very appropriate question based on what you just shared. The world, for all intensive purposes, appears to be like beyond insane. Um, Looking out on it everywhere you look, craziness, insanity, intense conflict, on every level and in every way. Um, so from that perspective, why would why would one choose to to turn around, as it were, and place their attention and their focus on this work?
the world is a reflection of an insanity that can be encapsulated by what we call the ego. And that's in each of us. So it's a collective, it's the pinnacle, if you like, of that collective momentum of unconscious egoic process. Finally, well, not finally, it always is reflecting back to us, that insanity, but that momentum seems to have reached some kind of peak. Maybe there's another peak, I don't know, but it seems to have reached a peak of intensity. And so we can't avoid it anymore. Everywhere we look, as you said, is conflict, insanity, corruption. Yeah. No, I don't think it's about turning away from it. It's about looking at it clearly. That may mean turning away from the fear-based media portrayal, yeah, which is another level of insanity, yeah? And turning away, if you like, from our own internal fear-based response. But I wouldn't call it turning away. I would call it looking at it straight in the eye. We're looking at it as a reflection of that which is within, which then brings us to look at what is it within that is adding to that. That is the same as that, the conflict within, the divided state within, the reactivity within, the position taking within. Are we adding to that in our own lives? And I don't just mean on a political level or, society-based level, although it includes that, but in our own lives. It has to start from right here, right, with our own experience, our direct experience. And our direct experience is our internal landscape. How do we meet that? Are we meeting that with rejection, with denial, with bypassing, with argument, with violence? Because that's what's adding to the collective violence. Yeah, and from this place, it then filters into how we see everything, how we see the world, how we see our lives, how we see each other. So it's a kind of turning within, but it's not a turning away from.
Right. Would it be fair to say, because the experience I'm having of what you're sharing is almost like including within as I look without. So it's not really turning so much as allowing this to be part of the whole.
Yes, I guess that's a good way of saying it. I think what we're saying here is rather than seeing the world as something external to us, something independent of us that's happening out there. But in what goes on here, it's my own private affair, and I might not look at it because I'm just carrying on unconsciously. Yeah, it's all one. The way I see the world is the way that I am. So the way that I am is included in that. Yeah, which is, as you say, different from just turning away and retreating into myself. Yeah, that's not it. It's inclusive. And I think that the true spiritual inquiry now is inclusive. It has to be. Otherwise, what is the point? Because it's ultimately not for my own benefit, yeah, but for the benefit of all.
My eyes are landing on the title of this talk. So when people register to spend the weekends with us, the Journey of Awakening conference, and they come and choose to spend 90 minutes with you, and I hope that they do. It's extraordinary. I've been in your teachings. The title of your talk is An Unconditional Relationship to Life. And if I may read this description, yeah. If awakening is to be complete, it must filter out from the mind into the heart and into the density of the physical form. This journey is the purification of all that is not yet living the truth of awakened consciousness. It doesn't mean you or your life become perfect, but it does mean your relationship to life fundamentally changes from the conditionality of a me-based perspective to an unconditional intimacy with what is. Paradoxically, this is the foundation of true freedom. Amoda explores the deepening and embodiment of awakening and how it changes our relationship to all aspects of our everyday lives. So, in other words, here, I'm coming back to you. When people start filling the room and they come to spend this 90 minutes with you this weekend, what do you intend for them to receive?
Primarily, the possibility of investigating in themselves, examining in themselves their own relationship to life, to reality, to become in love with, if you like, the process of the journey of seeing where I meet reality, my reality. Yeah? I'm not talking about external reality, it's all included. Where I meet my experience with violence, with argument, with rejection, with denial, with victimhood, with this shouldn't be happening to me, or where I meet reality as presence and openness, to fall in love with that journey, with that inquiry, because it transforms everything. And we have to be clear here that it's not about being passive. It's not about, well, nothing matters and therefore, yeah, it's just whatever. It's not that either. It's the doorway to a deeper intelligence and to right action, or the action of love, or non-action, but it arises not from the me-centered perspective or paradigm, which is always a codependent relationship on life. Yeah? I need life to be like this. I need you to be like this. I have an agenda for the outcome. I'll trade this, yeah, some aspect. I'll trade my truth for comfort or security, and so on and so on. That's a codependent relationship with life and with others. Yeah. But the unconditional relationship doesn't have an agenda, first of all. And that changes everything. From that place, we can act more intelligently. We can act in resonance or in alignment with a much vaster universal intelligence. So essentially, I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't have a preconceived talk or presentation, but there's an open conversation that may happen. Of course, I will talk about the embodiment of awakening and everything that you just mentioned and see where it goes. And then there's an open invitation. But I think behind that open invitation is this. Are you really willing to become sensitive in yourself? Yeah. To how you respond to life and to notice the vibrational difference, if you like, between the tight fist and the open heart, the open awareness that is fundamentally what non-dual realization is. It's the undoing of the matrix of ego layers, which is built up of position taking, rights and wrongs, agendas, protections, defenses, attacks. Yeah? And to notice, and we can notice that in our very direct relationship to life, everyday life. In that sense, it's not going away from life. I wouldn't even call it spiritual. Yeah, I've come to not very much like that word because it implies something other than the very nitty-gritty of the human experience. Essentially, we're talking about being in the world, but not of it. And that's profound. It's a profound difference to just being lost in it and being identified with it. But it's not about moving away from it. We can't. We're human beings. We're here in this life.
Beautiful. Thank you. Before we let everybody go to whatever it is they're going to do next, is there anything else you'd like to say or share?
Well, really just to thank you for hosting me again, for inviting me to the conference. I offer a lot of online programs myself and so on and so on. And it's always, beautiful to speak to if you like, a new audience, some of them new, some of them not so new. And and then the questions are always revealing of what's going on in people's lives now, in the personal and in the more collective fields. Yeah, and that's I get a sense from that as to where the inquiry wants to go. What's relevant today? Yeah, what are we really seeking here? What's really the possibility of transformation in this intense world that we live in these intense times?
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, the Journey of Awakening conference. Go ahead and click that button, share it with your friends. We love you very much. Thank you so much, Amoda.
Thank you, Cindy.
Bye for now.
Bye.